Hi everybody, setting up here. I hope everybody can hear me well. We are live, right? Okay. There you go. Let me see, we have some guests joining in. There you go. Yes. Wow, so many problems of a technical kind today. It's incredible. Hi, Diana.
Hi, we made it.
I have some problems hearing you. Can you hear me now?
I could hear you.
Excellent, I can hear you back. Great, oh my God, so many technical issues.
It wasn't us, it was Instagram's fault.
Yeah, I know, but it's weird. I mean, I for a minute I thought it was just me, and then
Me
it
too.
sort of sets in. Yeah. But anyway, we're here, we're live, we're talking about Croatian wines. Before we get started, quick introductions. My name is Božidar. People who can't pronounce it call me Bo, because Božidar is one of those Croatian names. That's a tongue twister. And I do Wine Lovers Croatia, and I do Insider Holidays, which is a little tour company that I own and run, specializing in wine tours, of course. What else? And I'm basically all about promoting Croatian wines outside the borders of our country. And Diana, you are a proud owner and manager of Girls Drink Wine too, right? And
Yeah.
Diana's Healthy Living. Am I forgetting something?
Yeah, I run Girls Drink Wine too, and Diana's Healthy Living, which is a travel blog, and of course, Girls Drink Wine too, more focused on wine. Based in Toronto, in Canada.
Nice. Well, basically, what we're doing today is trying a few Croatian wines. Before we get to actual wines, I think it's a good idea to tell our viewers and listeners a few things about Croatia in general and Croatian wine in general, because, I mean, Croatians, locals, we think everybody knows we are a wine country, right? And I found out that's not the case at all, right? So what's the situation in Canada? Does anybody know about Croatian wine?
No, not really. Honestly, it seems like people think that this Croatian wine is a new age wine, something that's just
Yeah.
come up and coming. I think only because that's our market isn't great right now. So we've had like one wine, I think, on LCBO shelves for the longest time. And but luckily, we're just starting to get more Croatian wines available and on our liquor store shelves, mostly right now to order. But they are all fantastic wines, and I can't wait to introduce our wines to Canada. Like it's been like people are like, where do I get my hands on this, right? And the
Yeah.
people who do try it really do love it.
Yeah, we get, obviously Croatia is a big travel destination, quite popular, and for a reason, I think. And we get a lot of international guests, and I do a lot of wine tours here for the sort of 6 months of the tourism season. And I get to meet people from all over, and I get to be with them sometimes when they try Croatian wines for the first time, right? Or seriously try them for the first time. And everybody's surprised, usually very positively, of course. And I like to think that the best thing about Croatian wine is also the biggest problem with Croatian wine and winemaking. And that's the fact that we have a lot of small producers and high diversity for a very small country, So we get to produce everything on small scale, which is amazing on one end, right? Because winemakers get to express themselves. They don't have to think about mass appeal. But on the other side, well, usually they don't export because, they sell everything locally anyway, and it's not easy to export. I mean, there's certain costs involved. It's, there's certain bureaucracy involved as well. So a lot of these small producers just don't export, and people rarely get to try wines. I mean, even if they do export, they're not going to export, quantities significant enough to put a dent in big international markets. So it's very interesting, you know, how when I'm doing tours, that's great because people come here, they discover it, and then they're thrilled. You know, my job is done. But at the same time, I would love to have people know more about Croatian wine, which is why what I do is important, but also what you do, because you know they're gonna, you know, you're there, you know, where you need to inform people, you know, and I love the fact that we have people like you who are sort of ambassadors for Croatian wine. We need that right now, you know.
Yeah, Croatia. Everyone needs a little bit more Croatia, and Croatian wines are, honestly, I remember being in Croatia, and a lot of these wines take me back to there. So when I drink them here in Toronto, I pretend like I'm back in Croatia. And I think anyone who's visited Croatia, being Croatian or not Croatian, I hear all the time, oh, I've tried this wine, where can I get it? Right? And not
Right,
really
right.
knowing that Croatia is known for their wine.
Yeah,
But again, so slowly, we're gonna get there.
yeah, yeah. Right. By the way, you do have Croatian background, right? I believe you said
Yes.
Trogir and Zadar, right?
Yeah, my mom is from Trogir, and my dad's actually just outside of Zadar from Škabrnja.
Nice.
So yeah, so I speak it, read it, write it.
All right, really.
Yeah, I used to go every summer. But yeah, so I can't wait to get back there.
I would love to do this whole video in Croatian, but I think you're
That'd be
going to
awesome.
alienate a lot of people.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Right. So you like you've obviously you know Croatia, right? You know it well. Have you been all around the country or certain
Um,
regions?
I've been to Istria, you know, Opatija, Rijeka, Zagreb, of course, Zadar, Trogir, Šibenik, um, down to Makarska, Hvar. I haven't been to Korčula yet. There's so much still to explore, right?
Dubrovnik?
I've been to Dubrovnik, yes.
Ah.
Your hometown, right?
Yeah. Dubrovnik is it's very interesting. I mean, historically and all that, but also when it comes to wine, it's a very interesting region. So yeah, that's the thing about Croatia, as you know, very different. I mean, you said it yourself. You've been to Zagreb. Once you go to Zagreb, you see how, you know, the difference between that area and this here. It's like you went to another country. You know, it's as if you came from southern Austria down to the coast of, I don't know, Spain or Eastern Mediterranean, you know, Greece or southern Italy. So huge diversity, very small country, 4.2 million people, but we're having the census this year. We're supposed to do it. I think, unfortunately, the numbers are going to show that we've dropped below 4 million people in Croatia. So it's a tiny country, but hey, a lot of space for vineyards, a lot of space to explore, a lot of space for, you know, nature, and it's. I mean, I don't want to say it's one of the most beautiful countries in Europe because I'm from here and I find it in poor taste, but I think it's one of the most
It
beautiful countries in
it
Europe.
is, absolutely it is. And I know coming from me, and maybe I'm biased, but my husband's Italian, and we went there
Ah,
two years ago, and he never wanted. I'm going to be honest, he never wanted to go to Croatia. He's like, what do I want to see in Croatia? It's like all of Europe,
yeah,
right?
Italians, yeah.
Yeah, Italian. So then he came to Croatia, and guess what? When are we going back?
Ah, there you go.
So he loves
Where
it,
from?
and
Where from in Italy? Do you know?
he's from Friuli, so the
Oh,
northern
right.
part,
Okay.
and
So,
Treviso.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so like, I mean, he loves the Croatian wine. Actually, he's not a big white wine drinker, but
Uh-huh.
of course, we were there in the summer, so we were drinking a lot of Croatian white wine, and he
Of
loved
course.
it. So
Yeah. Yeah. I'm having some problems here with Diana, but I'm sure it's going to work itself out really soon. I'm going to just introduce a few wines while we get Diana back. What we're doing today is we're tasting three wines, and first one is from Istria, which is actually a region of the country all the way up north. I mean, it's the coastal region, but all the way up north, close to the border of Slovenia. Just a sec, I think we're having Diana back. And Diana, do we have you? Yeah, what can you do? What can you do? We had the two of us. We spoke on the phone earlier, and we had this theory that it's the Italians blocking us because they're so worried about how Croatian wines are going to take over.
They're scared. They
Yeah.
should be.
So as soon as you mentioned Friuli, there was a lamp going up.
Exactly.
Anyway, I was going to start to actually introduce what we're doing today with regards to wine,
Okay.
right? So, funny enough, Friuli Venezia Giulia, Italian, well-known wine region, is actually very close to Istria, which is where the first wine comes from. We're having Kozlovic, and I have my bottle right here.
And I have mine right here.
There you go. Kozlovic Malvazija. Kozlovic is the name of the winery. It's the name of the family. It's an old winery. They're saying the winemaking goes back in their family back to the beginning of the 20th century, 1905 or 4, something like that. And they're working with Malvazija Istriana, which is not unusual. Malvazija from Istria is a very, very popular white wine variety in Croatia. I'm guessing you tried it. I mean, I know you tried Kozlovic, obviously, but have you tried it around Croatia? Have you seen? I mean, there's a lot of Malvazija Istrianas in our restaurants, if you noticed, especially during the summer, you know, because they can make some really nice fresh wines. Yeah.
Yeah, when I was there in the summer, that's pretty much all we drank. And then I was 2 years ago in Istria, and they, of course, gave us all the local wines. Yeah.
It's a wonderful variety. What we need to, I guess, clarify here is that Malvazija is a prefix that is used by quite a few grape varieties around the Mediterranean. And they're not all the same variety, obviously. There's, I think, 17 or 27, something like that. There's quite a few different varieties, but there's way more different Malvazija names, because sometimes different names in different regions are for the same variety, of course. But interesting thing about Malvazija from Istria in Croatia is that for now, we haven't been able to find a genetic identical. So it might end up that Malvazija Istriana is actually an indigenous variety. It's very interesting variety that has decent yield. You need to do very good canopy management. You need to do very good vineyard management. It's actually, I mean, usually we do fresh, fruity, somewhat floral wines because that's what the market wants. But actually, Malvazija can be used to make really nice, you know, wines that are oaked, or even sweet wines, dessert wines, and so on and so forth. They usually fall between 11 and 13.5% alcohol, so they're usually either on the lighter side or, let's say, medium minus the medium bodied wines. I think we're ready to do this.
Yeah. So they do oak. That's interesting. I don't think I've ever tried an oaked Malvazija.
And not only that, but Malvazija actually sometimes is done in acacia barrels, if you believe.
Oh, okay.
I tried one of those recently. Not very nice, but I still like my oak when I do oaky wines, when I drink oaky wines.
Yeah. So I was told that we say it wrong, that it's Malvazija, the Italian way.
Yeah, it's we in Croatia, we're going to say Malvazija Istarska, which literally means Malvazija from Istria. Malvazija, depending on where you are, local dialect and all that stuff, right? But as I said, for now, we don't know any genetic identicals across Europe, which is, by the way, not the case with Malvazija from Dubrovnik area, which is genetically identical to Malvazija delle Lipari, Malvazija di Sardegna, and Malvazija de Sitges. So two Italians and one Spanish variety.
Yeah, I was just going to actually ask you, like, if it's grown anywhere else or just in Istria.
Predominantly in Istria. Now there's a little part of Istria that's also Italian, and there's a little part of Istria that's also Slovenian, but basically in that area.
Right.
Predominantly. I don't think we have it anywhere down the coast. You always have an odd winemaker that experiments with unusual varieties, but I don't think we have this
And is
along the
it because
coast.
it's too hot along the coast?
Well, yeah, and we have other varieties along the coast that are well adapted and are giving great results, so we really don't need to push Malvasia down the coast. There's no
Right.
point. Right, the color, sort of coming towards gold, but lighter, medium minus to lighter color. But yeah, on the nose, right? It
Hmm.
really, really shines.
I wish we had a scratch and sniff here so people could smell this.
Well, it's only a matter of time, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Right, but we are getting a lot of, this is a wonderful combo of fruity and floral aromas. You have your stone fruit,
Hmm.
you have your, even a bit of yellow apple and pear,
Yeah.
some lovely florals, lovely on the nose, medium intensity, something like that. My phone, for some reason, wants to go to sleep. I guess it's been
I
a
know.
long day for it as well.
It's tired too. Yeah,
Right.
it's a beautiful.
You like it on the nose?
Yeah, it's beautiful. Very stone fruit. I get a lot of stone fruit on it.
Yeah, this is the nose that sells the wine in a restaurant. You know, I used to run a restaurant, and when you do something like a little tasting, a glass for guests, as soon as they get it to the nose, they're like, okay, we're gonna have this,
Yeah,
and
that's good.
it does well with all sorts of light food. But I'm jumping ahead, so let's do palate.
Let's see.
Hmm. Hmm.
Oh, let me go get my, hold on.
Yeah. So on the palate, again, lovely, fruity. What I don't know, did you get this? But what I get on the palate that I didn't get on the nose is a bit of minerality,
Yes,
of
I'm getting
which I
mineral.
yeah, I think it goes really well with everything else, and I think it makes this wine perfect for a lot of the seafood that's popular around the coast of Croatia. And one thing, funny enough, one thing this will do well with are fresh oysters.
Yes.
And that's funny because right now at home I have not one, not two, but 100 of fresh oysters
Oh,
that
wow.
we got from town of Ston, or Mali Ston, I should be precise, which is some 45 minutes away from Dubrovnik. Today is the oyster, traditionally would be, but coronavirus, what can you do? Today is the 19th, I believe. It's the Oyster Festival. This is when the oysters are at their biggest and fullest
Lucky
here in
you.
Croatia. So we had to celebrate. I'm doing this tasting in my office, but after this, I'm going back home with the rest of this bottle. And
Finishing
this is
it.
what we're gonna. Oh yeah, this is gonna start the dinner off wonderfully. You know. Right. So where would you put this wine? I mean, I know what I have this with when I'm in Croatia, but what do you have this wine with when you are home in Canada?
Actually, we buy a lot. We love oysters too, so we buy a lot of
Okay.
oysters, and I actually love this wine with oysters and any kind of seafood, really.
Hmm.
And even in drinking it in Croatia, I had a lot of octopus when I was there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so it was really good with octopus.
Very, very nice duration, maybe medium, even medium plus duration. 13% alcohol, which is not that, it's pretty substantial. Pretty substantial for that's sort of coming towards Malvazia's sort of upper bracket for most of Malvasia wine, but well balanced. You can feel the warming, the sensation of the alcohol, but it's not overpowering. It doesn't
Not
stick out.
overpowering at all. No, it's
Yeah,
it's it's definitely like like I mean it's perfect for the summer. It's perfect anytime. I drink white wine anytime, but like I mean it's so refreshing.
yeah, yeah. slightly chilled. It's great. By the way, we did say it goes well with oysters, but it can take on some other, a bit heavier foods. Well, again, maybe best in the realms of seafood. But, sea bass, we have a lot of sea bass here, so grilled sea bass fillets or something like that. This would be a wonderful pairing, definitely.
Oh yeah, definitely because of the acidity too, right?
Yeah, yeah. But I love it. I love this wine on the nose, I have to be honest. Malvazija had that acacia flower thing that I really, really like on the nose. Wonderful. Okay, cool. By the way, Kozlovic, I was going to say one of the most, but maybe the most beautiful winery in the country. I haven't been.
I haven't been. I can't wait because I'm coming. I'm coming. I
Yeah,
need to
you
visit all
said
the
you're
wine.
coming maybe soon, right? If the
I would like to come definitely for the wine festival that's happening, but I guess it's a wait and see how things go. But if not, definitely will be there in the summer, regardless.
nobody can stop you, right?
No, no.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's getting so anxious to travel. I mean, whoever I see, around, everybody, like Dubrovnik is very tourism oriented
Yeah,
place. It has been, for decades. So we all of us, or most of us, are making money directly or indirectly from tourism. So everybody wants people to travel here. But aside from that, everybody just wants to travel, just to get away,
anywhere. Exactly.
anywhere. Exactly. So yeah, everybody's anxious. I hope you get here by the end of April to catch some of these festivals. I was talking to my wife today. I think we're going to do quite a few. I think we're going to do Zadar and then Vinograd tasting in Zagreb, and then maybe Vinistra in Istria, which is a lot of
Nice.
Malvasijas there.
Yeah,
So we'll see.
that would be
Um,
nice.
right. We might as well start moving towards the second wine. And second wine is Merga Victa Posip. Beautiful design of the label. Merga Victa, new winery. You can also find them under Black Island Winery. Brand Black Island referring to island of Korčula, which was a big ancient Greek port in the old days. And back then it was known as Korkyra at the beginning. And then the Greeks changed the name to Korkyra Melaina, or Black Korkyra, so because Korkyra is also the name of Greeks Corfu, so they didn't want to mix these two up. We have a bit of ongoing war. Again, Italians, right? We have a bit of
Right.
ongoing war with the Venetians
The Korčula.
because we think that Korčula town on Korčula Island is the birthplace of Marco Polo, the famous explorer, and they don't want to admit that it is.
Well, I have an ongoing rivalry saying, well, Marco Polo is Croatian because
Well, funny enough, no, the thing is, people always say Marco Polo is Venetian. He is, and he was. But Korčula Island was under Venice for quite some time. It's the only part of today's county of Dubrovnik that wasn't a part of Dubrovnik Republic. Dubrovnik and its surrounding area was its own little country for almost half a millennium, by the way, 450 years. There's a lot of history here. But yeah, aside from history, what Korčula is known for is its wines, especially white wines. Because this thing is Posip, and Posip is also another really important white variety in Croatia, discovered in 1880s. Most probably, not most probably, but there's a lot of back and forth about the origin, but it's most probably a cross between two local varieties, and it was found growing in the wild in the 1880s by a local guy from Korčula, and it was found growing under the pomegranate tree, which is probably where the name comes from, because šipak is pomegranate in Croatia, Posip, pod is under, pod, šipak, under the pomegranate tree, right? So it was found under the pomegranate tree, which is probably where it gets its name. And Posip, another variety that yields, it gives good yield, usually produces a bit heavier wines than Malvazija Istriana, simply because we get even more sunshine here. Korčula in some areas, 2,800 sunshine hours per year, so quite a lot. So as you can imagine, right, the grapes need to be able to withstand this heat. So they do thick skin, they accumulate a lot of sugars. Usually we get medium to full-bodied whites. And this is still in the medium range, 13% alcohol, much like Kozlovic's Malvazija Istriana, but a bit fuller already in the color, but also on the nose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
More golden.
Yeah, yeah. But on the nose, also riper aromas, right? Warmer aromas. You have some lovely peach, apricot jam, even on the nose. Florals.
Yeah, I definitely, it's florally. Get
Maybe.
some minerals on it too.
Yeah, a bit of almost elderflower. Maybe even, I'm not stretching it. I was going to say I'm stretching, but no, I can definitely get some mango on the nose as well.
It does, actually. It smells a little bit tropical.
Yeah.
So question for you. So
yes.
Posip is an indigenous grape to Croatia,
yes.
to Korčula.
The first, yeah.
Okay. And are there other varieties on Korčula?
Yeah, quite a few. One that it's extremely interesting, and we should do it once on a tasting like this, is called Grk, which is GRK is the spelling. And I love making people from English-speaking countries try to pronounce it.
Grk, I know, it's a tongue.
But I love Grk. We don't know where it came from. We don't know what it's doing here. It could be Greek, but we didn't find it in Greece up till now. Very interesting variety that makes wines that you would swear were from a cooler climate when you try them. But very, very interesting variety. Posip as well, getting to be very interesting, very important along the coast, because Posip is sort of, I don't want to compare it too much because it doesn't compare when it comes to main aromas, but it's similar to Chardonnay in that you can do a lot with it as a winemaker. You can keep it in oak, you can do Surly method, you can do orange wines, you can do a lot with Posip. It's very versatile, so winemakers like it with this in mind. But also, of course, as anything else, it's not easy to make an excellent wine from it when you have very, very warm weather, even at the time of harvesting. Harvesting, white grapes, which are always a bit more delicate than the red, in very harsh climate. It's always tricky. It's always a challenge, right?
So I'm curious about, I know, seeing all the wineries in Croatia, and I always wonder, I didn't go to Korčula, but I've seen them in Hvar and even in in Šibenik and all that, how all the vineyards are basically on mountains and, very interesting compared to compared to Canada, compared to our vineyards here, obviously very different, right? So I'm wondering how that affects the flavor of the wine and also the sea air and all that.
Well, there's a lot to be said about micro locations, right? So one hill is gonna have very different characteristic than another hill. This is especially, this is so easy to see here in Croatian South, like Pelješac Peninsula, which is our premier wine growing region as well. You have these top sloped areas called Dingač and Postup, these really important appellations in Croatia on one side, and then you have, hills on the other side, and this is where the sea is, this is where the flatlands are. These two hills may look similar, but completely different characteristics, because this one is exposed to the sea, this one is not. This one gets a bit less sunshine because the sun goes behind this hill, and so on and so forth. But basically, what these terraced vineyards are able to do is, among other things, expose a lot of the grapes to the air. That's usually has a good flow because it's usually next to a big body of water like the sea or fresh water. Because, for example, in village of Smokvica, where this is from, there are some freshwater springs around as well. So you get this wonderful airflow, which of course is great because it's very difficult for fungal diseases to set if you have good airflow combined with a lot of sunshine, right? And this usually combines here with very porous soil that doesn't retain water. It retains it in the lower layers, which then the grapes need deep roots to get to. But on the surface, it's usually always dry, sunny, or windy, and it's just perfect for grapes to survive and be healthy. It's a little less perfect for harvesting because it's very steep and it's a back-breaking work. But hey, Croatians wouldn't do back-breaking work if it doesn't yield really good results, you know?
So I take it because of that, most of the vineyards are probably hand-picked, hand-harvested.
Well, yeah. A lot of the vineyards along Croatian coast are hand-picked simply because you have no other option. It's too steep and rocky, and just there's no good mechanization to be used. You know, even if you do some sort of a pulley system or tractor system, you would still have to harvest by hand and then get the grapes to a container, then send it down. But that's little help, So a lot of these, most of these vineyards are not only hand harvested, but you do everything by hand, which is sometimes a problem when we get to the third wine. I'll tell you why it's a problem when you want to be organic, right? Because you do a lot more work in the vineyard by hand when you are organic in these types of locations.
Well, I find, I know when I was in Croatia, like the Adriatic Sea is very salty. And
yes,
I remember, swimming in it and literally drying off and being white from the salt. And then, of course, in Pug, one of my favorite cheeses from the Pug is their Pug cheese, right? And how the sea air affects the flavor of the cheese. So that's why I was wondering if the sea air affects the flavor of the wines as well.
Oh, yes, of course. I didn't even get to the sea spray and the high minerality. Right? Yeah, I mean, you have high minerality here wherever you look because the ground, a lot of times, it's at least to a certain degree limestone, which is, again, high minerality. You have to have these deep roots to get to this water, which is in lower layers. So you pick up a lot of minerality along the way as well. And of course, you have the sea spray. You have in these locations close to the sea, if you dig really deep, you'll find like seashells and stuff like that. So depending on where you are in the country, there's more or less minerality. I mean, along the coast, of course. Yeah. There's more or less minerality, but there's always some degree of minerality in Croatian vineyards along the coast.
And you could taste it. You could really taste it, I think, in the wines.
Yeah, the palate. Very, very nice, ripe, sweet aromas. As I said, a lot of stone fruit, some lovely florals, even honey-like aromas. Like it. There's just a hint of bitterness towards the end that I love very much.
Just the
yeah, and a nice acidity. I mean, we're talking medium acidity, but medium acidity is not easy to get in these areas. So yeah, I like it very much. It's typical southern wine. All the best things about a southern wine, a southern white. Sorry, it's ample in alcohol, but it has so much body, so much fruitiness, so much these primary aromas that it balances itself out wonderfully. So you can take a lot of alcohol. This is 13%. It's not crazy, but we get white variety around here that get to be 14% or even more. Wow. And when you get 14% or 14.5% white wine that's beautifully balanced without being in oak or overly oaky, then that means something. You know, it means a lot of sunshine, a lot of sugar, a lot of fruity extract. It just, you know, salt. It's very, very concentrated.
Yeah, Croatia's very hot in the summer, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Here in this, you know, in the south, it's typical Mediterranean region. So we get these very hot summers, short rainy winters. Usually we get the change of seasons in like one day, right? It's going to be really cold. Well, really cold. For us Croatians, really cold would be like,
No.
yeah, 10 degrees Celsius or something.
Okay, I was in Opatia in 2 Decembers ago in December, and literally I could take off my coat and take in the sun. That's not happening here.
Yeah, we're now at 10, 11 degrees Celsius
Nice.
in these past few days. And for us, it's freezing like here in the south. It's too cold. You know, it really should be, you know, up at 15, 17%, 17%, 17 degrees Celsius. That would be like normal. But yeah, we're going to get there. It's usually like a switch of the button. Tomorrow you wake up and suddenly it's summer, you know. Here on the coast, again, different in the continental part of the country.
Actually, don't you start swimming soon? I know my cousins usually start swimming in like April, May. Summer like comes very early for you.
Yeah, I don't want to sound like a crazy guy, but actually I already swam 3 times.
Oh wow, okay.
in February.
Nice.
So, but that's not normal. You know,
is that what we would call our polar swim, right?
Yeah, it's nice. I like cold water. It's really good. Now again, it's not crazy. Like when I went to swimming, it was like 13.5 degrees Celsius. The water, I mean, right? Which is quite cold. Okay, it's not great you can't swim a lot, you know. But it's actually really nice and refreshing, and you feel amazing when you get out. So there's quite a few people around here that will go swimming a year long, you know, because the idea is if you don't cut it, you know, if you don't stop, you're going to be able to swim throughout the winter, which is not bad. It's really healthy.
Nice.
If you do it right. Right. So to conclude with Merga, Victa, Posip. Yeah, really nice southern white. That can
one of my favorites.
Yeah, you like it? This is your style?
One of my favorites.
This is your preferred style of white sword?
It's my first Posip that I tried, at least that I think. I never really paid attention to what I drank before. So I might have had Posip before, but the first one available here in Toronto that I've tasted at all, we've never had this variety before. Like before, we've just had a red wine. And it unfortunately wasn't necessarily the best wine. So these coming through are great examples of what we can be drinking and what should be exported to us, right?
Yeah.
But it's a beautiful Posip. It's very nice. It's easy drinking. Again, it's not too high in alcohol, although 13% seems pretty high, but it doesn't, like when you taste it, it doesn't seem very high. It's very easy drinking.
Yeah. It's the thing about wine, of course, it has to be balanced. So if it's not balanced, it doesn't really matter. But yeah, wonderful. By the way, this is a new winery and also a very young, fairly young winemaker. And he is from Croatia. He's doing amazing things. He worked for quite a few good wineries on Korčula and in Croatia, and he's now doing this. I think it's a wonderful Posip. I think we're going to hear more and more about this brand because, as I said, it's brand new and it's going to go places, I think.
And it won silver, I think, right?
Yeah, on decanter. Yeah, 2000 last year.
I love the label too. Yeah, it's nice.
Label is amazing. By the way, labels are one thing that we used to have. Some of us still have problems with in Croatia. Now, I think you know this already. A lot of our wines used to have horrible labels because the winemakers were very old school. They just didn't, you know, what's inside is important, right? It's not what's outside. And it was, we really needed to go through sort of a switch of generations to have this new mindset that a lot of our winemakers today have. And now we're getting these beautiful bottles. This is a wonderful looking bottle with a wonderful label. And again, it's inside what matters, and it's a wonderful wine. So yeah, I think this is a great example of what to do with white wines in this hot climate of ours.
Yeah, of course, like I mean, what's inside is most important, but of course sometimes a label sells a person too, right?
A lot of the times,
Sometimes,
you
yeah.
wouldn't, you wouldn't believe. As I said, I used to run a restaurant, and how people order wine is very interesting. You know, if people see like somebody, you know, like a waiter bringing nicely looking bottle of wine to the next table, they go like, "Oh, we're gonna have what they're
I love
having,"
that.
right? Without asking what is inside, right? And without actually thinking about pairing with food sometimes. But yeah, it's a lot of the times it's what makes the sale. And you know what? In all honesty, I went this close when I was in college to actually switch to graphic design. So I'm all for labeling. I'm all for good packaging.
Yeah,
That's
of
what is
course.
there, you know.
Marketing,
Who doesn't like, you know, to have things that look nice as
of
well as
course.
taste nice in this case.
So one question about the name, Merga
Yes.
Victa. What exactly does that mean?
It means over the water or something like that, because the area, the village, traditional, by the way, village where Posip was found
Right.
originally, is actually sitting on top of some freshwater springs, which is why,
Okay.
by the way, it was populated since ancient Greek times. So yeah, it's something like over the water or above water, something like that.
Okay.
Right.
Perfect.
Okay, so this is all well and nice, but I think we should move to the big
To the next
guns.
thing.
Yeah, or the big gun, which in Croatian wine terms is, of course, Plavac Mali. Now, yeah, there you go. Plavac Mali is, of course, our number one black grape variety or red wine variety. It was made by spontaneously crossing Zinfandel and Dobricic. Zinfandel, originally Croatian variety, at least to our knowledge so far. Zinfandel being identical genetically to Primitivo in southern Italy, and Crljenak and Tribidrag in Croatia. And this Crljenak Kaštelanski from Kaštela, so very close to Trogir, was crossed with Dobricic, another variety from Trogir, actually from, what's the island name close to Trogir?
Prachiovo.
Yeah,
Chiovo.
not
No?
sure, but the other one. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
Anyway, central Dalmatia, two varieties crossed. One is Zinfandel, the other one Dobricic, which is not well known even today. And what we got was Plavac Mali, which is our most important red wine variety. Now, Plavac Mali, for a lot of our international guests, takes a bit of getting used to because of high tannic content. Has very strong structure, high tannic, and also high fruitiness and everything. But tannins are really important. One of the highest tannic varieties. How do you cope with tannins in Plavac Mali? Is it something that you like? Is it something that you don't really like? What's the situation? Where are you on the scale when it comes to red wines?
So question, was the island Sholta? Is that the
Yes,
island you're thinking? Okay.
exactly. There you go.
Yeah, I find Plavac Mali is very high in tannins, but I like big, bold red
Yeah,
wines.
it's the thing with tannins is a lot of people who are used to wines with, you know, red wines with not a lot of tannins, usually sometimes, you know, some of them think of tannins as a sort of a fault almost in wine. Not really a fault, but something that is a mark of a not very good red wine, which is, I think, a horrible misjudgment because tannins in Plavac are, that's the varietal characteristic, you know? And we don't get these tannins from the barrels, we don't get these tannins from any other way, but from the variety itself, which is why I think we need to learn to live with the tannins of Plavac. And check out this color,
I know it's a
really
beautiful
nice,
color.
yeah, ruby going away from purple. I think this is full ruby by now, sort of medium plus intensity. And then the nose, quite big. You can smell it's a powerful wine, right?
Yeah, I'm getting like cherry and
Yeah, yeah, sour cherry,
berry.
blackberry, even maybe even a bit of blueberry, a bit of chocolate.
Yeah.
You can get a bit of chocolate, a bit of coffee sometimes in these Plavac Mali wines. Sometimes a bit of dry carob. I don't really get it as much here, but
So
yeah.
I think one of our first wines that I was introduced to here in Toronto,
Mhm.
we had a love-hate relationship for Croatian wine. We loved Croatian wine, but unfortunately, the wine that was being imported to Toronto wasn't very great. And I think it might have been a Plavac Mali variety. I don't recall, but
Could be.
as I
I
know,
mean, most
it,
probably at least some was Plavac Mali, definitely.
yeah, and unfortunately, it wasn't a great wine. That was my experience. But of course, being the Croatian community, my father always made sure we had it on the table because we were supporting Croatia, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
it's so great to see that we have so many different Plavac Mali wines now available in Toronto through Croatia Unpacked, and of course,
Yeah.
different Posip and Malvazija and all that. So it makes me appreciate it more, right?
Well, it
Knowing
is.
what we
You
have.
know, Plavac Mali is a serious variety,
Yeah.
and because so many people are working with it, because we have so many small producers, because you see, this is the thing. This is the difference between winemaking in Croatia, you know, a few decades back, and winemaking today. The winemakers, the old school winemakers in Croatia,
Hmm.
the difference between them and the guys now is the fact that the guys now know what's happening around the world, right? The guys in the old days knew their own village and a few villages around, right? So whoever had the best wine in those two villages was the best in the world, you know? So they went a whole lot of time without changing almost anything. This is good in a sense that we have, you know, a lot of old vineyards. We have, you know, we know traditionally how to handle Plavac Mali because you know this is all about knowledge that's passed on generation to generation.
Hmm.
Plavac Mali is not easy to work with. When you get to the harvest stage, the grape, you know, you need to wait for the tannins to ripen because otherwise they're going to be very sharp.
Right.
While you're waiting for them to ripen, the acidity drops as the sugar level goes up. Now, not only that, but the bunches of Plavac Mali grapes, they don't ripen evenly. So you have a bunch, and then you have a few green, you know, berries, and then you have a few raisins on there. So you
That's
really
what
need to
I'm
know your thing.
getting.
Yeah,
Like, I
yeah,
mean, I feel like I'm getting the like suve smoke, like dried smoke, the dried
yes,
figs
yes,
on it.
yeah. Sun-dried figs,
Yeah.
very typical. Even a bit of raisins,
Yeah,
but
definitely.
still, you know, not it doesn't it's not on the nose, you know, too heavy or anything like that. It's heavy, but you have a lot of this fresh fruity aromas as well, lifting the whole thing up. But let's do the palate.
Yeah.
Hmm, hmm. Yeah. So
Very. So I've had a few Plavac Mali and I always find it's better decanted. I like to decant it for a couple of hours because it's so powerful. And I find it actually gets better as it sits. It's more mellow, more,
yeah, yeah. It needs time.
yeah.
It's very much like the way of life here. Traditionally, we always take time with everything, especially food and wine. But this is important to note. This is again, we didn't say anything about the winemaker. This is
Right.
Volarevic family winery. Again, young winery. Um, they started working and they are in, by the way, close to Dubrovnik. They are in the Dubrovnik area, but they are in Komarna region.
Okay.
Komarna is sort of a brand new. Oh, Volarevic just joined right on
Awesome.
time. Komarna is a brand new winemaking region in Croatia. Well, they're getting to be bigger at the moment than they ever were, and organic vineyards mainly. Again, steep hills for most of the area, and a lot of Plavac Mali. They're working on their own little expression of Plavac Mali, and Volarevic typical, not even typical example. I think definitely one of the best, if not the best, winery out there trying to offer sort of a new expression of Plavac Mali, but still keeping very much in touch with what made Plavac so good all these decades and centuries. And basically, the key here is the acidity, right?
Yeah.
Because we already said you have so much in a way of aromas. You have your primary aromas, you have your secondary aromas. This wine was aged in, I think they use a combination of Croatian and American and French oak. So this was aged in oak. So you have these nice spicy aromas, woody aromas, even a bit of smoky aromas, I would say. So you have a lot there. And then, of course, you have your alcohol, which is 15% in this case, which is by no means unusual for Plavac Mali. And then what you really need, all this, what I said is great, but what you need there is ample acidity. And you have your at least medium acidity here, which makes the wine, come into balance. It's, it's alive. It's, I don't want to say too refreshing. That's not the point of this wine.
Yeah.
But it's not sluggish. It's not heavy. It's not going to tire you out. In fact, it can trick you into thinking you can finish this bottle and resume with your day, and that's not the case. Well, for most people anyway. But yeah, wine that goes really well with different foods. Plavac is a wonderful food wine, and this one, by no means an exception. I think this is a wonderful food wine, especially for high protein and high fat foods. And by the way,
barbecue.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
depending on how you do barbecue, I mention barbecue to my American guests, and they go like, I don't know, because we do barbecue here like this, and then we do these sauces and dips and this. So I don't know, but grilled meats definitely, But my personal favorite for Plavac Mali, especially of this character, is dark chocolate.
Yes.
Yeah. 70, 80, 85% cocoa, dark chocolate, a match made in heaven. Match made in heaven. This is something I always recommend to people who don't like a lot of tannins, because this is high tannins. They are well integrated, they are well ripened, but it is high tannins. So if you don't like your tannins in red wine, try a bit of dark chocolate. You get dark chocolate coats your mouth with this oily texture. And when you get tannins, they sort of this cancels out the tannins. And what you're left with is this wonderful fruitiness and spicy aromas of well-made Plavac Mali wine.
I'm gonna have to go run and go get my 90% dark chocolate now. So tell me, where exactly is Komarna? Like where?
Oh yeah, sorry. Komarna is some, let's say, 1 hour north of Dubrovnik. Pelješac Peninsula is, and then the mainland, and then that's where Komarna is. It's basically close to the Neretva River estuary. So it's a wonderful fertile area down in the plains, and then up on the hills are these lovely vineyards. So you get down in the plains, you have a lot of tangerine groves and other type of fruits, and wonderful cuisine, which is completely different than anything else in the Dubrovnik area because it's fresh water. So you get your eels and frog legs and stuff like that. Very, very, for us, very unusual, basically.
Yeah.
But then on these hills, a lot of sunshine, a lot of, again, airflow, Wonderful, wonderful region for organic winemaking, especially. And I told you, organic is very tricky here because, as I said, you get good airflow and you get very dry area. So you don't have to you don't have to worry about fungal diseases. You don't need fungicides. Pesticides, you don't need much anyway. But weed killers, herbicides, if you are going organic, of course you can't use these, which means you're going to have to get rid of all the weeds by hand, right?
That's not happening.
And that's very tricky. That's very tricky to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, it does pay off, I think. Some wonderful, wonderful organic wines coming out of Croatia lately. Still not like a overwhelming trend. We don't have a lot of organic winemakers, but I know a few of them. And by the way, all of them amazing people. I don't know if this is connected or not, but good organic wines, you can't beat them. You can't beat them. I love organic wines. Yeah.
So how do you find for yourself with people who come and visit Croatia? You do Croatian tours. Are people aware that Croatia has wine?
No.
Or is this new to them? No.
You have to understand one thing. Again, small country.
Yeah.
We don't do a lot of wine production when compared to the rest of the world. You know, when it comes to quantity, what we do is good quality. So no, people don't know about Croatian wine. I was, lucky enough to be able to travel to Asia, to Hong Kong and Macau and China and Thailand, but I didn't go to Thailand for business. And I was there, among other things, I was going with my wife because she had some work to do there. And I was going there to try and promote some Croatian wine. That was difficult, right? Because a lot of people didn't know Croatia existed as a country, let alone is a wine country. So people, generally speaking, don't know about Croatian wine. They come here, they learn about it, and then they go home and they talk about it because, of course, it's nice when you discover a wine from a region that your friends don't know about, you know? So I think you're going to hear more about Croatian wine in the upcoming years and decades, especially if we continue along the path of small quantities mainly, but good quality.
As long as we could get it, like, I mean, whatever the quantity is, just bring it because
that's why it's really important that I keep seeing companies like Croatian Pact, and thankfully, you know, you have these people who are going through all the red tape, which is not, and to my understanding, it's bad in Croatia, but it's also bad in Canada if you're importing wine, right?
It's I don't understand the whole business of it, but from the sounds of it, it sounds very complicated. But has it helped now that Croatia is part of the European Union? Has that helped with the Croatian wines?
It helped in a way. It definitely didn't make matters any more difficult. It helped, and the European Union also has, European Union is also very bureaucratic in some instances, but actually, you know, things tend to work in European Union, and that's great. You have all these different funds allocated for promoting of wine and other agricultural products. So some winemakers were able to tap into these funds and use this to promote themselves because of course, wine promotion is not easy, nor is it cheap, right? And we are in the Mediterranean, right? So there's no way that, you know, Spanish and French and Italian winemakers are just going to sit there and watch us take over some of their market. They're going to fight for it. And, you know, and they know how to fight for it, of course, you know, amazing winemaking countries. So Croatia, I think our future is in some sort of a boutique niche, you know, because what we don't do well, or we'll see what's going to happen tomorrow, but for now, we haven't been able to do budget wines, like very cheap wines, well, you know, simply because we don't have big quantities. But what we do well is this medium to upper medium price range. That's our main thing in Croatia. Boutique wines with a story, wineries with a story, cool winemakers. That's what we do well. And that's something that's actually very popular now, which I'm very grateful for. People are taking the time and effort to learn about what is this wine, where is it coming from, what is the variety. And I'm so happy to see that a lot of people coming to Croatia are asking, are actively trying to try our varieties, other than just looking for what they have back home.
Well, it's interesting. Like, I mean, you say they don't do cheap well, which is great. Like, I mean, but Croatia does have some very great value wines, like the Testament Dalmatian Dog and the Kutjevo, Graševina.
Oh,
they're very great price points, and they sell, like when they're on the market, they sell out right away. And they're great wines too, right? But again, the different levels. But I'm just thankful to see them here in Toronto, and hopefully they'll be on the shelves more. But like you said, Croatia, it seems to be a young country and people don't even know where it is. Myself, growing up here in Toronto, and people ask, what's your background? I'd say Croatia, and people would be like, well, where is that?
Yeah, what is that all about? Yeah.
What is this? What is this Croatia all about? But now that even speaking to friends who really didn't know what Croatia is all about, it's become such a popular destination. People really want to travel to Croatia. It seems to be one of the more, there's so much history. And like, I know where my mom and dad are from, a lot of like Venetian influence. But it's not your typical, there's parts that are touristy, but not super touristy, to say like Venice or whatever. So you still get that authentic feel, I think, in a lot of parts of Croatia, which is great. And I'd love to see also more, tourism with wineries. That would be fabulous.
We'll see. I mean, unfortunately, COVID, right? Last year I was supposed to, because I do wine tours in this southern part of the country around Dubrovnik area. But actually, my big project is offering 7-day wine tours through the country. So I was supposed to do that last year, but unfortunately. But starting maybe even this year, September, October, but definitely for next year, I'm going to be offering 7-day wine tours through Croatia and 7-day culinary tours through Croatia as well. That's going to be really cool because there's so much diversity. You can see different parts of Europe basically going through Croatia. And of course, all these regions have their own food, they have their own wine, and it's very, very unusual and very cool. But it does take a bit of getting informed to know what you're working with, But I think that a lot of the fun is in that, and we discussed already. I'm actually hard at work, and you're to blame for this, because I was gonna not do this now, but actually because you sort of, you said, do you have any Croatian wine classes? And I said, well, I don't know of any, but I'm sort of thinking of working on one, and now I have to do one. So actually, in a few months' time, I'm going to be releasing a little masterclass on Croatian wine.
Well, we definitely need that, and definitely need it from someone who is Croatian, a local who knows actually your WSET3 as well. And being a tour operator, all the regions, and the growing conditions and the soils and the weather and everything that's important to learn about Croatian winemaking, etc. All I know about Croatian winemaking is a wine that my father made in our basement.
Well, and you had to say that it's the best wine.
It was the best. It was the best.
There you go. I know that. I know those wines. But it's getting people informed about Croatian wine is not an easy task, but I love doing it, and I'm sure you like doing it as well.
Yeah, I'm very passionate about everything Croatian, again, because I'm Croatian, yes, and I feel like it's so underrated. We're so underrated as a country, our food, our wine, everything, that, like I said, like everyone says that line, everyone needs a little more Canada. Well, we need a little more Croatia too.
I mean, people, a lot of times when I talk to somebody from like the wine world outside of Croatia, and then they tell me, well, what is the price of the wine? And I say, well, what wine? You don't know the variety. You never tried the wine. You're asking me about the price. I know why, because you want Croatian wine to be cheap, because you never heard of it. But
Right.
because you never heard of it doesn't mean automatically that it's not good. So we actually need to work very hard to make people, be aware that the price they're paying for Croatian wine, usually, of course, not always, but usually is well worth it.
It is.
So,
And I think people need to keep in mind too, what's relative in pricing is, of course, importing, and then all of our regulations, for example, here in Toronto and Ontario, right? That really make the prices very different than what, you get at the winery, but like anywhere, right?
yeah, I mean, it is what it is, Everybody needs to make their cut, and that's fine, as long as, the end customer is satisfied. And I think a lot of our end customers are satisfied with Croatian wine.
Oh, yeah.
It's all about offering more wine and getting more customers. But we'll get there. We'll get there.
Yeah,
right.
Eventually.
Okay, so basically, this is the first time you and I are doing this. And I don't know, maybe we should think about doing another one of these and trying some more wine. I know it's a tough gig, but somebody needs to do it.
I think we should do it. We should have that task at doing it, because I know actually a lot of people are very interested in Croatian wine, again, because to them it's very new. It's a very new area, a very new country for people, and especially for the wine world. So many people have never heard of these great varieties, right?
Yeah.
I
think we'll see if you can get here in April, end of April. That would be cool. We could do like Instagram live from one of the wineries or the video.
That would be awesome.
That would be cool. That
would be really cool. Yeah, definitely.
Cool. Well, Diana, thank you so much for taking the time and going through the whole Instagram is down.
I know. I thought it was just me.
Yeah, it's incredible. But yeah, we managed to do it. Thank you so much. Thank you to everybody, by the way, who signed up. I see there's a lot of people commenting and everything, but we're so engaged in this whole thing and in the wine tasting that I really didn't get a chance to reply much to the comments. But thank you guys very much. This video I'm going to save, and this is going to be published permanently, so people will be able to check it out once more. And we'll see. Diana and myself are going to talk, and we might as well come up with something else to do in near future like this, or hopefully even catch each other in Croatia very soon. Maybe do some sort of a wine festival report or something like that. That would be cool.
We have some volunteers I see for wine tasting, so
yeah, that's going to be tricky, but yeah,
we could work something out,
Maybe we'll do some sort of a Croatian wines go to Canada, like and get you guys some wines that you don't have there yet, and do a little tasting, and then people can vote on what you guys are going to import. That would be interesting.
That's interesting, actually. That might work. We'll have to talk to Croatia Unpacked and see what they could do for us.
We'll see. We'll get Sasha to finance the whole thing. Anyway, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thanks for everybody coming on board. And I'm going to have to finish these now tonight.
yeah, I'm going to get home and get to work on those oysters. So
enjoy.
Yeah, until next time. See you, Diana. See you guys. Have fun.
Živjeli.
Živjeli.
Bye.